it's such a journey, and honestly, it feels like you're going to stop talking and then you don't, and then there's something else, that happens, and it's kind of crazy. And it's very much like you're in the thick of it right now. Like, this isn't something that's been and gone, but talking to you, like, you just struck me as someone who is really taking this in their stride, and that's not easy. And there'll be people here, I'm sure, who are familiar with what it is to manage a condition or a disease, but there is something in your presence, in your ability to just kind of get up and go and do the thing. And I wondered, like, what is it? Can you share with us what it is that you draw on, basically, that means that that you don't have that kind of you called it the cancer eyes,
Yeah.
approach, that actually you're very much, looking at the glass half full.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think being within sports, right, definitely has allowed me to create a just mental toughness, right? Before this, I was playing professional basketball for about 7 years, all throughout Europe and Australia, and even before that, just playing it all my life. It just instilled like values of mental toughness and not necessarily letting situations define you. And for me, growing up in inner city Philadelphia, it's a very rigid upbringing, to say the least, right? So you got to either be tough or get left. So like you got to figure it out, and figuring it out, it taught me a lot of life lessons to ultimately go against this battle that I'm on now, and persevere. So
Absolutely. I think that's it. Drawing on all those things that you've gone through in life so far. I mean, that's all built you up, and it's given all of us, it's given us the tools that we need, to manage whatever's coming. And I think that's amazing that you can draw on, something that's so, I know your sport, you're really passionate about that, that you've been able to use something so amazing in times that have been really, really difficult. And I think, I know one of the things that you talked about, and obviously with your Cancer Bay movement, is being really important to you, is a sense of community as well. And you have your movement now, but I wondered, when you were kind of, and you're still in the thick of it, but when you were starting to go through this process, who did you lean on? Did you have a community that you could lean on?
yeah, definitely my fiance, right? So funny story, when I got sick, she was actually over in Australia. And she planned to be in Australia for about 4 months. So she left here in November and planned to be there until March, which is their summer. And living in the UK gets dark very early in the winter. So she didn't want to do that another year. So she actually went off, and then was probably there for about 9 days, and then immediately had to turn back around. So, in her coming back while I was my sickest, just leaning on her and her support and her being there for me definitely created, you know, that relief. And then this whole Cancer Bay movement actually started with me wanting to, express how I was feeling and getting the news. So obviously, when you get a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, there's a moment where you just pause and it's like everything's still, and you're like, what does this even mean? Like, you know what I mean? So there was a moment where I just, you know, wanted to decompress, and that's where the whole movement started. Was literally me, just similar to what we're doing now, just talking about, like, wow, dang, I really got cancer. Like, wow. And then from there it just evolved into, a movement that represents, not letting your circumstances um, identify, basically not letting your circumstances identify you, or limit you to what you want to do and where you want to be and where you want to go. So that's how it evolved.
Amazing. And if anything, to use those to your advantage. I mean, to if your like former self looked at you now, I'm sure he wouldn't, be able to see, or he wouldn't have imagined what you've created from, as I say, some of the most incredible and very difficult circumstances. You have born this amazing community and movement, and it's an inspiration to people. And I know you told me you love color, you love, you love things that are vibrant and all of that. And I think that's so important because, I don't know, would you agree, kind of the dialogue around disease in general, but particularly something like stage 4 cancer, as you say, hearing that, your mind doesn't go anywhere positive when you hear something like that. And similar for me with my condition, the prognosis is managed very well. Things are managed very well, but it's to the average person, it doesn't sound great. Lots of surgery, potentially, just to like keep on top of things, medication, all that sort of thing. Like it's not a fun thing to hear. But actually to bring all those amazing qualities into what could otherwise be a very, very disempowering reality, I think is incredible. And I think, your voice is adding to that movement right now. And do you feel it growing? Do you feel like there's a kind of, a future for it?
Definitely. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be a part of a movement that's a lot bigger than me in the sideline cancer movement, where I actually got flown back home to America to play in this massive tournament called the TBT. And that's just a global $1 million grand prize basketball tournament that's, televised on ESPN worldwide. And just, I, I was a cancer charity named Sideline Cancer reached out to me based on my stories and my videos. So like just creating that platform gave me that opportunity, and then getting that opportunity, going over there and just being myself and telling my story, it actually allowed me to, grow my platform. I was featured on ESPN. I had a couple articles come out, and it was just really like mind blowing, right? Just how much bigger it is than just you or just basketball or just like, the UK. It's literally a world issue. So it was very exciting to be a part of. And I think it's the beginning. I think we're just barely scratching the surface of what we're doing and where we're trying to go. So
Absolutely. And this is the beginning. I mean, things are just starting. And I wonder whether it's something to do with maybe social media that's helped us. We're a generation now that's grown up with it, and we use it's right at our fingertips and we use it for everything. And as you say, you had the backing of ESPN, and and you've had your various YouTube channels and stuff, and now Instagram and TikTok, and your following is absolutely huge. To be using that for such an amazing thing, I think is really admirable. And I know a lot of people, when they come into an experience like this with a condition, they do tend to not resort to, but they tend to use social media kind of as like a blog or like a journal somehow, to keep that experience, to share that experience, but also to acknowledge it in themselves. Did you find yourself kind of doing that? Was that what you were using your Cancer Bay movement for?
yeah, I think as it continued to grow, the excitement of creating a community really like preyed on my need to wanting to build a community. So like just that excitement of, wow, there's a lot more people who are currently on their journey and been through their journey and are know people who are on their journey. So just like that excitement, and then seeing other people's pages, right? So like you go down this rabbit hole where you're just like looking at cancer content on TikTok or YouTube, and you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of awesome people doing a lot of things. And you get that space to create your own twist on your own journey and just the battle and the word cancer in general. So I think it's definitely influencing me in my direction, just like seeing all the cool content and different angles that are already in place. And compared to other followings, my following's pretty small. So
It might be small, but it's reaching the right people.
it is. It is. I'm super excited, and so is yours. I mean, you rare disease is very niche, to say the least, right? And I think you're MEN2, you're MEN1a, yeah,
One. Hmm.
and that's the more rare one, isn't it?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. They're all rare. It's like one in yeah, 100,000 people, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, so like you're finding that, and just one in 100,000, even within that community, there's like a huge community, right? And just, being able to put your spin on it as well is exciting. And me being able to tie people all over the world, because I'm from Philly, but I'm living in London, and I played in like 7 different countries all over the world. So like to unite people around a serious topic is very fulfilling, for real.
I couldn't agree more. I think for me, community came out of a need to not feel like I had to do everything on my own. So very much I was a staunchly independent person. So even after having my diagnosis, even after knowing that there were communities and people out there, there was this part of me that was like, I've got this, like I don't need help, like I can do it on my own. And I look back and I think, wow, like how much I was challenging myself to get through something which really cannot be done alone. You know, we have to rely on each other, and as you say, like pull together and feel like you're not isolated in something which is a huge experience. And it's worldwide, as you said. And for me as well, it wasn't just like any community, because I could go to friends, I could go to my family. It was finding the right people. It was finding people who related and understood and could empathize with what I was going through, but also people who were having the right kind of, for me, what was the right kind of conversation. So ones where, you know, we were focusing on what was possible and what, you know, and what we could do, rather than like circling around what was the difficulties and the challenges, which obviously we all have to accept and acknowledge, but ultimately where you put your focus is where you get your results. And for me, I just know that since I you know, started a community and wanted to focus on the more positive side, I guess, in inverted commas, that's the experience I've had. And I think to encourage that in not just rare disease but disease in general, because that noise is not very loud at the moment. And I think that's what I'm opening up, really, is a space for people to come and feel like they can have the rant, they can have the, you know, the shoulder to cry on if they need it, but also feel as though they're supported to move forward and to find that, you know, find those things that they can, you know, they can influence and they can hold on to. I know for you, you said it's your sport, it's your fitness, that's what keeps you going. For me, you know, I'm incredibly kind of logic based. I love research. I love getting my teeth into anything kind of academic. And so that's where I put my focus, and that's what supported me. And that is rare. That's the rarity in rare disease, I think. But it doesn't have to be. You know, we can spread that further.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think again, like for me, it's very it's very interesting how people see me and be like, "Oh, you got cancer?" Like when I tell them I have cancer, like I said, they give you those cancer eyes where they like, "Oh, so sorry to hear that," because there is a very eerie stigma that comes associated with the word cancer. So like for me, not looking like your typical stage 4 cancer patient, or not, you know, letting it define me as other people would, you know, because I'm not necessarily frail. I'm openly speaking about it. You know, I think again helps to destigmatize exactly what it is, and ultimately continue to bring awareness to it, and help shift the movement around it. So
Absolutely. Yeah, bringing awareness to all nuances, as you say. There is this preconception, I guess, of disease as a very disempowering thing, when ultimately, you know, the perhaps the power is in the challenge. And I can see that in your, you know, in your movement and everything that you're doing, and I feel it in what I'm doing too. And I can see it in other people's journeys as well. And I think to help people see that something that could be their biggest challenge or their biggest pain is, you know, on the flip side of the coin, they're also their biggest power. Like I think, you know, that's incredible, and that's, for me, that's the kind of conversation that I want to be around. And I think encouraging that is so important.
yeah,